He has been both my right and left arm many times in many of the things that go on, because I don't always have the time to commit to some of the things that are going on. And so I asked Dale to, again, assist with some of the discussion and or comments that might be made as well. Dale?
Mr. Mayor, Council, good. Just a couple history things, I guess. Some of you are probably familiar with these issues, other ones may not be. When it comes to land use, annexations, the Larson Farm, of course, was annexed some years back after a considerable amount of agony on all sides, I'm sure. The Henley property was also annexed and is currently under construction. And the Sexar property, most of you may recall, when Mr. Everton was mayor, he and Mr. Johnson worked very diligently trying to get some cooperation on a joint development of that property to make it a good community asset and to eliminate the conflict that had probably gone on in the past. And that seemed to be going along pretty good until, unfortunately we had a change of some personnel within the city, and some things kind of went downhill. And unfortunately, those things tend to kind of cloud your thinking about future events when you try to say what's going on in the future and can you get cooperation. Well, cooperation should be the word of the day, but it doesn't always work that way. As you probably know, Mr. Sexford came to the village some time back and offered us that same property. And we had looked at it and certainly think, yes, there's some interest there, but bottom line to us is, number one, we are not in the business of being developers. That's not our mission in life. Our mission is to try to, have a city government structure. Private enterprise, in our mind, does a much better job of developing things than cities do. That's what they are in business for. The second issue we had very concerns with was that in the past we've had a big issue of getting any kind of access to city streets. And we did not want to have a prolonged battle over that issue again. So we said, I guess, there's multiple reasons for us not to be interested in that property. We understand it'll be sold to somebody, I'm sure. We really don't care who it is sold to. What we do care about, though, is if there's going to be some development there, we look at how we could jointly work that issue. We saw the new street going into Henley Addition and joins the property over there. We kind of wondered, is there some plan there we don't know about? You must have had a change of heart and you're going to put a street over there so we can join on to that. I don't know if that's your intention or not, but anyhow, I think we wanted to come and just say that if we can have very cooperative-minded, meaningful dialogue on whatever happens to that property, we're all for that. We're not coming here as roadblocks or as antagonists. But we want to make everyone aware that we also don't want to just see our land go away and we have nothing for that land. That's not good for our taxpayers. So with that, I think, I saw something here in Mr. Block's weekly newsletter. It's a very good statement. It says, in the meantime, permitting, we will move to a new site. Excuse me, wrong sentence. In the meantime, perhaps we may yet come to understand that there is tremendous benefit and potential when collaboration is a chosen course of action versus conflict. Now that is a very good statement. Now if we can all walk that talk, I think it would be very worthwhile for all of us concerned. So that was our purpose tonight, was just to come here and have a brief discussion with you. We thank you for your time. If there's questions we can answer.
What sort of, you say, joint developments, what would you have in mind?
Well, before, Robert, what was being looked at was taking two looks at developing that land up there from XX that was working on it. One being high-density housing, which could have been in the city, would have been served by city sewer and water. The other being, a portion of it being rural housing, which people at that time, the developer thought there was a need for out there, a market for 2.5 acre sites, basically, which would have been within the village. So we're going to combine thing where shared in the development of the thing. They're all shared in addition to the community. They're all shared in addition to the tax base. So that was what was going down the road before things, no longer worked.
So, the village would retain the right or the, what would you say, the taxes on the rural portion?
At that time, one portion would have been annexed to the city to be developed, one portion would have stayed in the village to be developed. And that was the way it was conceptually looked at.
Basically, though, the 2 acre parcels or 2 plus would be in the village.
Correct.
In the
Correct.
city.
They'd be on the east end.
On the east side, east and north side. It had been served by their own water and septic systems.
And actually, there was multiple things on the table, nothing had really been set in stone. We'd had dialogue for a period of time that would have said we can do a joint development. We share costs going in, we share revenues returning out. We reference community in most things we do. Community doesn't stop at the boundary of the city. I mean, not to those that believe what a community is. But anyway, that was the intent, not to say that that'll happen or it won't happen, but that was the intent back then. We would entertain the opportunity to do joint development, joint planning with land. We look at or we read the need for business development, acreage, this or that. The village has never said no to the need for a business area for the city. The TRW building or Sumatoma, that came with an agreement with the city, even if it ended up being reneged upon. That land was in the village. The Larson property, the Himley property, so it isn't that the village is attempting to be a roadblock. We prefer to be a participant, not just something that you can come and kick sand in the face, or we want to be able to work as the unit. I believe, Ted and I mean, that may be true or false, the discussion or the plan, but that's my recollection of it.
That's what we were trying to do.
As far as the annexation of it, without having the opportunity to have something in exchange, I guess, speaking for myself, I would say that would be the last thing that I would be wanting to see done. Does that mean that it can't happen because I don't like it? But I would like to see that we've made attempts to address what the needs are and the purposes why it can't be done collectively instead of independently. Any comments or questions?
So you didn't want to annex it? You're okay with annexation as far as?
No, we said that would not be what we would want.
Okay.
Could it happen? It can happen whether I want it or not. I mean, it's just because one city has a desire for something, if the right steps are done, you don't really have to have, I mean, your opinion doesn't necessarily mean much. Cities have certain rights and taxpayers have rights. And the Larson property is a prime example. It went to the municipal board. It cost a lot of money for everybody. Was there a winner? I don't know. That happened a long time ago. Would we want this one annexed? Preferably? No. If it happened, would we spend tens of thousands of dollars to protect it? Probably we'd have to think long and hard. You don't make your money back doing things like that.
Any comment?